What's up, good people? I'm just Major. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So earlier today, there was a massive explosion in Tennessee, McEwen, Tennessee, to be exact, which is about 60 miles, I think, southwest of Nashville. Now, I went to college in Nashville for a few years, and I have actually never heard of McEwen, Tennessee. But nevertheless, like I said, there was a massive explosion, and there are a number of casualties and a number of people that are unaccounted for. So we're going to go ahead and check out what they have to say, and I will give my take on what possibly could have happened. All right.
Breaking news and what is truly an apocalyptic scene in Tennessee. Crews are responding to a powerful blast at a military explosives facility in the town of McEwen. Officials say that a number of people were killed in this, that others are missing. It's an explosion that shook homes miles away in the small rural community west of Nashville. Video from a man's doorbell camera captured the moment that it happened. Officials are set to give an update on the situation here shortly, but in the meantime, let's bring in CNN's Ryan Young. Ryan, what do we know?
Yeah, this is about an hour outside of Nashville. This happened around 7:48, as you saw in that camera that we just saw from the Ring doorbell. But this blast was immense. When you look at the video from above, you can see just barely.
What's up? So the first thing that kind of caught me a little off guard is the timing. So he said 7:48, so pretty much somewhere around 7:45 this morning. And the first thing I thought was, man, that's a little early, one, to be at work, and then two, for an explosion to happen. So being a military explosive explosives facility, I was wondering if, well, is this a 24-hour facility? And if so, could the shifts have been kind of overlapping where, maybe the first shift was coming in and the second shift was going out? So, but yeah.
Anything left. I called the EMS to talk to them about this. They were telling us that crews initially couldn't even had to stand back to respond because there were secondary explosions. You just look at the rubble there, the cars that have been twisted and pretty much blown apart, some still on fire. This explosion rocked the area. Just hearing from people saying they felt the blast from more than a couple miles away, you understand just the ferocity of this explosion. But when you look at it, you just see how.
Man, that looks like the building, and I'm not sure what size this building was, but man, it looks like it is completely gone. Completely gone.
Devastating. SPF confirmed from the sheriff that there are multiple fatalities. No count given just yet, as they're trying to make sure not only is everyone accounted for, but they have to make those painful phone calls to family members who obviously know that their loved ones went to work today and then had this explosion happen. Both Hickman and Humphreys counties are working on this. We know the ATF and bomb arson units from the TDI are there as well. This explosion happening just around 7:48. But listen to what the sheriff said just about 20 minutes ago about this blast and where they are right now.
I don't want to put that kind of information out there right now because we are vetting that. We've had such a massive response that now we're trying to slow down, identify things. And for those of you that was around me during the flood, we had some mistakes during the flood of some things that was put out there as names and numbers and that kind of thing. And I don't want that today. We're trying to be very methodical in what we're doing and making sure that we take the time to recognize and find out each and every one of these individuals and their family.
Brianna, you understand this is going to be a complex investigation with such a large scene like this, but you also want to get it right when you have people's families involved, so you'll understand the sheriff taking a beat. We do know there should be a news conference within the next half hour or so we hope to bring parts of that to you live as we learn more information. But once again, first responders had to stand back for a little while as these secondary explosions happened. The best vantage point so far has been from above, where you see these scenes that we're looking at right now, just horrific, as this community, small community, deals with this blast that apparently took the lives of several of the workers. We'll have more for you soon, Breon.
All right. Well,
So real quick, I was looking at some other videos and they are saying that 19 people are unaccounted for. So that's possibly 19 lives that have been lost. And the way that building looked and the way that those vehicles were burned and on fire, it does not look like anybody survived that. So, but I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. I actually hope that I am wrong. So it's just, here's my take, and here's my thing on what I think happened. And this is, like I said, a military explosives plant, and they also delve into explosives for demolition for buildings. So here's my thing. It's 7:45, and when I dug into the possibility of this being a 24-hour facility, comes to find out that it actually is a 24-hour facility. And first shift starts at 7 a.m., goes to 3:30. Second shift starts at 3 p.m. and ends at 11:30. The third shift starts at 11 p.m. and goes up until 7:30. So you actually have a 30-minute overlap, which is how some local facilities like a jail would do. And me doing nearly 15 years in law enforcement, starting in a jail, that's how a lot of their facilities are run. So here's what I think. 7 a.m., first shift starts. 7:30, the third shift is getting off. So I think that, I don't know, maybe they were having some kind of briefing. And in local facilities, especially law enforcement, when your shift starts, you always have a briefing. And that briefing could be from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Normally no longer than that. So here's my thing. I'm thinking they had a small briefing, maybe the first shift, kind of brief, maybe the third shift, overnight shift, brief the first shift as they were coming on. And then even if the first shift starts at 7 a.m., for a blast to happen at approximately 7:45 a.m., that's still early, even if your shift starts at 7 a.m. So my thing is, I think that they were working on something for the government, an explosive device. I'm thinking that it was a new device that they were working on, because otherwise, if they had worked on this explosive device before, they would have, or at least should have known what the blast radius was. By this being a new device and you're testing it, because they do explosive testings outside of this facility. So my take is, or my theory is, they were doing a test explosion and they miscalculated the blast radius. And I think that they were doing it that early in the morning because maybe they had a deadline for 5 p.m. Central, and this is all Central time. Here in Atlanta, of course, we're in Eastern. So I think they may have had a deadline for maybe 5 p.m. Central. Maybe they were, rushing in final test phases or something like that. This is just my theory. Nothing is concrete, nothing is proven, nothing has been said. This is just my theory, and you're just hearing this first from me. So, like I said, my theory is they were testing something early. They had a deadline by the end of the day. First shift was in the building. Second shift was leaving. And the test went horribly, and I mean horribly wrong, where blast radius was miscalculated and the effect of the explosion was probably miscalculated as well. So, like I said, that is my theory. You've heard this first from me. So, yeah, but we'll continue for a minute or two with the video and see what else they have.
Be looking for that. Ryan, thank you for the latest. Let's bring in the mayor of Hickman County, Tennessee, Jim Bates. That is one of the counties where this site is sitting on. He's with us by phone. Mayor, thanks for being with us here. I know they're trying to work out the numbers of this. Can you give us a sense of just how many people were working in this facility in what is really quite a small town?
Thank you for having me on. As far as the amount of employees there, I know the entire facility has approximately 80 employees. However, we do not at this time know how many were maybe involved in this blast. It's a big facility. It's confirmed that there is one building that was completely devastated. But at this time, I am unknown and unaware of how many were in that building.
Mayor, can you give us a sense of how connected this facility is to that community? How many people in that community are employed here? And how much this is touching people in that community? I'm assuming everyone knows someone who's being affected here.
Yes, ma'am. This facility actually straddles two different counties. It's on the county line between my county, Hickman County, and Humphreys County. And as you saw earlier, the Humphreys County Sheriff was there giving a interview. There is a lot of the employees that do work there are from these two counties. They do a lot in our community as far as helping others. So yeah, it's just it's pretty devastating to see this.
What are you hearing from families where you are?
Well, I have not had much contact with the families. As a matter of fact, I am about to drive out to the scene because I had to mandate my office this morning. So, and field any calls that were coming in. We've had some families call us. We've gave them instructions as to what to do and where to go. And that's the way we're trying to handle this.
Do they have a place where they're going to get information? How are they being treated and communicated with at this point?
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video right there. But man, like I said, this is just my theory on what could have happened. I haven't heard anything else other than, the number of people that are unaccounted for. But yeah. So let me know what you think in the comments. We'll talk about it. Like, share, subscribe. And 3 million subscribers. Loading.